Hi there, my name is Syed Mohammad Sadat, and this is from my database management systems assessment uh, assessment task 3. So let's get started with this. For the first question, how was the performance of my queries and how long does it take to reproduce the table in 4.42? Uh, so if I run my entire query from the start to the finish, I can see if I run my entire query from the start to the finish in a single go, it takes me around 1 minute for my computer to process the entire data set and generate the male cell budge catchment radius. And that is if I do not use any indexes or geometric indexes to make my queries run faster. But over here, what I had done was I created indexes at the very start for the population, the suburb, the route, strips, and the geometric data as well, using a geometric index. So then for the then for all the temporary tables that I had created along the way, after each table I created an index to make sure that later on when I use these tables, they run much faster. Then when that happened, I noticed that my overall query time dropped from 1 minute to around 30 seconds or so to generate the male cell bus catchment radius. Okay. How long does it take to which query is the most time consuming one? Okay. So the most time consuming query that I noticed was the mesh block counts table. So basically what happens in this table is that it joins the buffer. Uh, it joins the 400-meter buffer with the uh, mesh block tables and creates a whole table for that. And since spatial queries are in general more computationally expensive, especially for large data sets, this query takes a long time. To make this query specifically run faster, I had introduced a geometric index at the start, which later makes it much more efficient to run this query. And then And also for the buffers table, I created an index for the stop ID. So overall, this query, if without using it, with running this single query without using any indexes, takes me around 20 seconds to do that. But if I use indexes, the time is much slower. Okay. How significant? You see, the performance improvement using indexes, whereas to without using indexes is like massive. It's like around like 50%. Like over here, I can show you that it takes me around 30 seconds to generate this table without indexes. Whereas if I do use indexes, it takes me around 30 seconds to generate the same table, whereas it's 1 minute for the other one. Okay. How significant? Are the mandatory tables in Form necessary? Yes, the mandatory tables at the first two questions are necessary because this table makes sure that only the mesh blocks that are present in Melbourne are used and not the ones which are outside. And the mel stops table makes make converts the longitude and latitude to geometric mesh blocks, which makes it much more useful to generate the stop the buff, which makes it much more easier to generate the buffers around the stops. Okay. And then for interpretation of derivative using heat map. Okay. So after generating the Mel-Sal bus catchment radius, uh, I have used QGIS to generate a heat map, to generate the heat map that's required. And over here we can see that it basically shows us in which suburb like there's better bus routes compared to other suburbs. So over here the circle is greener. It shows that there are more there is better bus accessibility compared to other suburbs, compared to like these other outer suburbs in Melbourne. And over here we can see like close to Melbourne CBD, it's green, which means there's very good accessibility. Then for another version of the heat map using this in data, so I can also convert this heat map into a different to represent a different outcome. So let's do that. So instead of using average routes, I can also calculate the number of population per suburb, which can help us population. So this can show me like in which suburb there's more people residing compared to other suburbs. Okay. So okay. Okay. So over here, I've generated another heat map to show the population residents in Melbourne. To show the population residents in Melbourne. Over here, we can see that in the inner suburbs of Melbourne, there's much greater population compared to the outer suburbs, and it was used using this, and this heat map was generated using the same table we had first created. Instead of using the average routes, I just use the number of population to generate this heat map. And as for my overall opinion about this assignment, I believe this was a very good assignment to help me understand how to manage large data sets and and break down how to break down large data sets into manageable chunks, how to make them run faster using spatial indexing, the normal indexing to make, and how to dumb down the large data sets into manageable chunks uh, using a where clause, for example. Then, um, yeah, and that's pretty much it for my assignment and video presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah.